Welcome back to the Fumbled Out of Bounds podcast, where our motto here is football, football, and more football. Here we go. This episode of the Fumbled Out of Bounds podcast, the boys talk about this past week's college football and NFL slate, some fantasy football pretenders and contenders, and of course, our locks of the week.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. All right. Welcome back, fellas. Julian, good to have you on again.
Recurring guest.
Recurring guest. I guess that does make you a recurring guest now. Congratulations.
Our friend of the show. Let's go.
Friend of the show, friend of the pod. So yeah, last week, good, entertaining week. I thought the afternoon slate in particular was rather entertaining. A lot of good games came down to the wire. No real blowouts. Monday night game, not the best. Sunday night game was a lot of fun though. I went to bed at halftime admittedly, so I didn't get to see the fun part. But what I heard was you were asleep too.
I know. Loss is what I'm saying.
Oh yes. Anyway, so Connor, you want to get into it? What are we thinking about right now?
Top of mind for me, kind of hinted at this at dinner, and I thought about it, and it's true. Is the Cardinals, if they're for real or not? This is something Julian and I have had many conversations about with the Cardinals. Still mixed reviews from me on Kyler Murray. I think he's awesome to watch. I want to keep seeing it. I don't know, but he is electric to watch. Their defense is still young, and I have questions about their secondary, but that's probably top of mind for me in a tough NFC West.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kyler's he's like Madden in like real life. Like you just see him just run around and he just chucks it. I mean, it's really cool. I really to go off the Cardinals, Rondale Moore I think has probably been the biggest sleeper in terms of rookie wide receivers. I think best bang for your buck so far. I think I heard a stat today. He was on the field for 27% of snaps week 1 and 46% of snaps week 2, and he still contributed a lot. So I think that number is only going to increase, which your boy Christian Kirk means probably less field playing time for him and AJ Green. But yeah, I'm like what I've seen from the Cardinals as well.
I disagree. A lot of Rondale Moore's point. Well, was that this week? Didn't he have that really long touchdown?
Yeah, his fantasy production was a little bit fluky this week, just because he had that one massive touchdown. Like he still didn't get the targets that you would like to see from someone that can stay consistent throughout the season. As far as a fantasy standpoint, I definitely like at where we sit right now, week 2, obviously super early. I mean, the dude's been the most impressive rookie that's not a quarterback. I mean, he's been awesome. I love Kyler. I think he's insane. I think all the haters are going to be in shambles when they realize like how Kyler can stay consistently good all the time. But I definitely have a hard time betting the Cardinals. I have a hard time believing in their sustained success. That's probably just a product of me getting burned from them so many times.
Yeah.
Them just losing games that they weren't supposed to lose. Even last week, like that's just a game that they should have covered, but they just find a way to keep it close. Right. Like, I can't bet them at all this week against the Jaguars. Yeah. I think they're a way better team. I think they should win by more than a touchdown, but they're just a team where sometimes they just let it stick around way more than it should. So
yeah. Unfortunately, I think that falls on Cliff Kingsbury. I think the three of us and Shane included, I don't think any of us are sold on Cliff Kingsbury as a coach. I think sort of I guess Rivera was okay. I was thinking more so when you have that sort of talent that can sort of cover up sort of lackluster play calling and things like that, like you have sort of the Kyler to expedite things. Anyway, I guess mine sort of switch it up. Something I've noticed. Switch over to college football. The parity, I think this year might truly be utter chaos because I mean, the top 4 right now, I'm not convinced. If you look at the consensus top 4 from the beginning of the year, Oklahoma has been struggling. Clemson almost lost to Georgia Tech. An awful Georgia Tech team there by 4 touchdowns. Florida played Bama good. I think every team pretty much every week. Looking at some of the lines this week, I think Oklahoma could get upset against West Virginia. I think NC State could put up a game against Clemson. So the big boys in college football, I'm not sold on them.
Definitely leaves Cincy as a potential team to watch. Hopefully they could actually all the stars are aligned to where they could actually make the playoffs this year, just because of the top teams not looking as good as you would expect this year. Like Ohio State looks garbage. Like they're not going to make the playoffs, it seems, this far. But I mean, it's early. College, like there's still so much that's going to happen. I'm excited
Yeah,
to see.
no, I agree. It's week 3, but I mean, even Cincinnati, they were down 14-0 to a
Oh yeah,
mediocre Indiana team this past week. I mean, thankfully, some of us had Cincinnati -3.5 and they covered, which is great. But they didn't look the best. But I do agree that's sort of what I'm getting at is, Pac-12 has never had a team in the college football playoff. So there's a chance Oregon can make it. Penn State looked really good at home against Auburn, and the whiteout was super cool, by the way. So I think there's a lot outside, the typical 4 that have pretty much been in it every year for the past couple of years. Connor, you got anything?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, obviously, if Cincy goes on the road, they play Notre Dame, right? I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. They'd have to beat Notre Dame. They'd have to win out. They'd have to win the AAC championship. But yeah, I mean, it's chaos. I'm with Julian that I don't think Ohio State's for real at this point. I mean, they could always ramp it up as they go along, as long as they keep winning. And they got to win out though, since they lost to Oregon. It'll be interesting. I think parity. I don't know about parity. But I think it's a lot more interesting than it normally is. That's for sure. Julian, what's your top of mind?
I would say the NFL slate this weekend is, I think, sneaky good. When I was first looking at it, like there's so many teams that should blow out other teams. Like there's a lot of shit matchups. Starting with tonight is probably going to be horrible. We're recording this on Thursday, right before the Texans and Panthers game. Panthers are probably going to absolutely destroy the Texans, being led by Davis Mills. And there's a lot of games like that this weekend, but there's also a lot of like actual playoff matchups in week 3. Like we got the Chiefs Chargers at 1:00.
Agreed that it's a 1:00 game.
Yeah, and then 4:00 we've got Rams Bucks, which is just going to be awesome. Seahawks Vikings is just going to be such a high scoring game. That's just 2 fun offenses to watch. Then we got Packers 49ers at night. Super fun game. And then even Monday night, like Eagles Cowboys, not incredible teams, but that's a divisional matchup that's guaranteed to be a fun game to watch. Definitely a lot of stink fests, but some of the matchups are serious playoff level games. So
I'm even excited for Seattle, Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
and last week was awesome. I mean, the witching hour was unreal.
Yeah, for sure. Chase, anything to add to that?
No, I'm I will, not that you guys need, I will be in Biloxi, so I will be actively watching and betting probably the majority of these games. And it's always better when it's good football and you're not, like in college, you're not betting like Middle Tennessee State, East Carolina at 12:00. You actually have like good games that are worthwhile. It's good football. So I think that sort of is good. I like watching good football more than I like watching bad football. I don't think that's
sure.
hot take.
Are you gonna be in a legal betting state this weekend?
Yeah, I'll be in Mississippi.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you planning on throwing some stuff down?
Oh, throwing some stuff down. Hey, you're hot,
Let's
man.
go.
What are you, 23 and 6-2? I mean, I got
20, yeah, something either 23 or 26.
Gotta tell the co-host when he's hot, man. Gonna be text me your picks.
For sure. I don't love the slate this weekend, but we'll get
That's
to
what
those
Connor
later.
was saying.
There's definitely some
best
teases
slate,
I like this weekend.
Yeah.
We're gonna, at the end of the show, we're gonna have an over/under bet on the amount of money Chase will lose, and we'll have people down below over.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I guess you want to move over to fantasy. We can
What about our
talk
winners?
about some winners and losers. Yeah. I mean, fantasy or just in general. I guess I'll kick us off. I think the big winner so far, definitely this past week, is backup running backs in the NFL. I think the biggest one obviously is Tony Pollard with Ezekiel Elliott. Sort of, I was hearing people in some leagues on Reddit, like people were trading Zeke for Pollard, which is just dumb. But I wish I was making that up, but I'm not. But I mean, Melvin Gordon's an RB1 with 55% snap percentage. I mean, so teams are sort of switching over to the running back by committee approach, and it's becoming, far more relevant, getting more running backs relevant. I mean, look at Detroit. Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift are both, maybe not week 2, but just, through 2 weeks are fantasy relevant players. I mean, even James White scored a touchdown last weekend on 43. He only has 43% snap totals, and Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, and Cleveland. They obviously we all know they're probably the best RBBC in the league. So yeah, huge weekend for backup running backs.
Yeah, Pollard really surprised me. I understand they want to play the best players to win, and it really does look like Pollard. I mean,
I think he's better than Zeke. I think he's a better runner than Zeke.
As far as the eye test goes, like, yeah, I agree 100%. It's so weird. But like, how do you draft someone that high and then pay someone that much and not just plan to run him into the ground? Like, it blows my mind.
As a Giants fan, you don't know that?
Hey, Julian, when was Tony Pollard drafted?
I don't know.
Not second?
No, I don't. Not in the first.
Not second.
Not number 2 overall.
Yeah, but it's crazy. But I mean, he looks good. Yeah, definitely trading him for Zeke is weird. But I drafted my roommate's team for him, and I had him pick Zeke as his first pick. And he's been hating me ever since watching the games. He's like, why is this guy getting the ball? And I'm like, I have no idea. Never saw it coming.
But he's good.
He is really good. I don't get how Zeke didn't score that game or that. Did you guys see that halftime, right before halftime play where CeeDee Lamb like juked out the entire team and then pitched it to Zeke right before the end zone? And that was such a Zeke diving pylon play that we've seen before, but it just didn't even look like he really tried. He just kind of jumped forward, but he didn't look like the Zeke that would will his way into the end zone that you would think Ezekiel Elliott could do.
Agreed. Who's your winner, Julian?
My winner of the week is the NFL. Lately, today especially, and I want to say yesterday, there's been so many reports coming out about Brady and Belichick and Brady and the Patriots. I think his dad came out a couple days ago that was like Belichick was pushing him out. And then today, his witch doctor in quotes. I actually think the guy's a good guy. But Alec Guillermo or whatever, the guy behind the TB12
Yeah,
method,
Alex Guerrero.
he was like Belichick treated him like a 20-year-old when he was a 40-year-old. I think it's awesome. It seems to me like a bunch of scripted stories because the Bucs are playing the Patriots next week, and that game is just primed to be straight up, like, I'm not going to say Super Bowl level audience, but that's going to be playoff level audience. That game is going to get so many viewers, and that is going to be such a massive win for the NFL and us. I mean, I'm hoping it's going to be an awesome game to watch, but they're hyping it up like it's a movie, and they're going on tour for it, on a little publicity tour. It's awesome.
Agreed. My winner is kind of an under the radar one, but I think my winner for the NFL slate this weekend was the Titans. I mean, big time win after a big loss, going on the road to Seattle. First game back with fans in front of the 12s in Seattle. And the Titans kind of got back to Titan football. You know, Derrick Henry went off and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, people were kind of writing them off after that first week. And I don't know, maybe this is the confidence they need to move forward. But, I mean, Julian said it best, the NFL. I mean, those week 2 games, I mean, it was unbelievable, like, entertainment there for that afternoon slate. So, yeah.
That game was the craziest one because all the games were close except for that one. The Seahawks were destroying the Titans. And then all of a sudden, I don't even think the Titans won it. It was just the Seahawks losing that game, in my opinion. They let them into it somehow. And yeah, that was a much needed Titans win. But yeah, that was a good way to end the 4:00 slate last week, and a much needed Titans win.
Yeah, for sure. Chase, let's hear a loser.
Loser, I gotta say, probably I'm gonna say just AFC East right now. Just probably fantasy weapons in particular. I just sort of combining a couple takes here. So one, obviously Tua goes down with the bruised ribs. Jacoby Brissett didn't do anything. They lost 35-0. It's just sort of looking at the weapons. I know Will Fuller comes back for the Dolphins this week. I know he was out for personal reasons week 2, but obviously you're going to see a dramatic drop off for all Dolphins weapons. Connor's favorite, Myles Gaskin, for sure. Jalen Waddle, Devontae Barkley, even though I don't know how fantasy relevant he is. He hasn't really done anything. And then the Patriots, I was thinking about it. I mean, what is Mac Jones' ceiling in terms of throwing? I mean, maybe 2 touchdowns, 250 yards. So I mean, they got a lot of mouths to feed, as we know. They signed Johnny, they signed Hunter Henry, they have Jacoby Myers, they have Nelson Aguilar. So there's a lot of weapons, a lot of mouths to feed. So they can't obviously all get good points. And then the Jets are terrible. Zach Wilson, 4 INTs. And then for Buffalo, Josh Allen has not played very well. Apparently SportsCenter released something where like he was in the MVP race, Josh Allen, but I don't know why, because he hasn't played particularly well. So yeah, I think the AFC East has definitely not lived up to its hype so far this year. I mean, going back to our over under win total that Connor and I and Shane did a few episodes ago. I mean, I think we all thought that 3 of the 4 teams were going to be vying for playoff spots. But I mean, right now, there's nothing's really standing out to me in the AFC East.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Josh Allen has not looked awesome so far. It's super weird. I had this take before the season that I thought the Bills hit their ceiling last year just because of how good they were. But yeah, they haven't looked amazing. I know they blew out the Dolphins, but it seems like they always do that. I'm definitely curious to see how they play. I love watching Josh Allen play, but it definitely, unfortunately, feels like this early that the Patriots are going to somehow win that division, which is just, it sucks as someone who's watched the Patriots win that division for years.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Julian, who's your loser?
Lamar haters. I definitely not fantasy haters because there's not many of them. Everybody loves watching Lamar play, but some people think that he's just not a quarterback that'll win you games because of his lack of throwing ability. Another podcast actually, they're not even a podcast, but it's this YouTube channel called Talking Football. And they dove into like all the analytics behind quarterbacks. And when they did that, when they made their by combining a bunch of stats together, and Lamar was just so low on the model, which I understand only because there are just no analytics that can describe the impact that his ability has on a game. Like the eye test, you see him throw the ball, and it's like that. I've never seen a quarterback have success that can't throw the ball well, because sometimes it looks like he can't throw the ball well, but the impact that he has on the game running is just out of this world. And we saw it Sunday night in one of the best games I've ever watched, and how he can just absolutely torch defenses and leave them in shambles, figuring out how to cover the offense with his ability to run the ball. I mean, it's unreal to watch, and we're going to see more in the future, but I know now that Lamar Jackson can lead any team to a win at any time, just from his playmaking ability alone.
I would like to know in that model, like what was weighted heavily, like if it is those passing metrics, maybe that's why.
A lot of passing, but even rushing, like there's no metric. Like, yeah, you can do rushing yards and rushing EPA, but there's no metric that can describe like the impact that he has on defensive game plans, because you don't know if he's getting the ball, the running back's getting the ball, if it's going to be a play action to all of it, he's going to fake run and then throw it. Like the impact he has on the game is just unlike any quarterback in the league in the history of ever. And we're going to see it more with Kyler as well, who in my opinion, I even think he's better than Lamar, but
I am fascinated to see how those contract negotiations go for Lamar. That will be very interesting, just because like, okay, Lamar's successful this year. He kind of navigates the whole, running quarterback thing. Then you start talking about, okay, can he beat the next big mountain, which is the longevity case? And I'm interested to see how the Ravens, who are a smart football team, try to hedge against that and how that all happens. It'll be very interesting to see, because that's like, arguably the future of quarterbacking. So we'll see.
I've got a thing with the longevity that I used to not believe, because obviously any quarterback that runs the ball more is obviously more injury prone, just because they naturally take more hits and more hits. He doesn't get hit though. That's the thing, is the dude has just an unreal ability of just evading getting hit, sliding, running out of bounds. Even when he takes hits, he just like contorts his body in such a way that it seems like it doesn't even impact him. So I used to think like, yeah, he would get injured and maybe you wouldn't want to sign him to a long-term deal because you never know what's going to happen. But watching him play, it's just unreal. Like the ability he has, even though he runs however many times he does per game, he avoids getting hit every time. And it blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. My loser for the week is the Indianapolis Colts because I feel like, and I believe in Chris Ballard, and I said it on our wins and losses show, but they are staring down the barrel of 0-3, and 0-3 is kind of the point of no return. Carson Wentz experiment. I know he's injured, hasn't gone according to plan so far, and it's interesting. They always seem to be the team almost there, just looking for the quarterback. But at what point is almost there not good enough? So it'll be interesting to see how this.
Yeah, and he's not even 100% healthy. I think Ellinger and was it Brett Hundley who's taking snaps? And yeah, sure. We're taking snaps, and we sort of touched on the Titans earlier. So they have to travel to a Titans team and play in Nashville against a Titans team that just had a pretty emphatic win at Seattle. So I agree. I think the Colts, thankfully, their division's not crazy tough, but they're. I'm with you that they're going to be struggling if they don't figure it out soon. Switching over to more fantasy aspect, we're sort of 2 weeks in. Maybe week 1 was an aberration for some players. Who's some guys that you're sold on, and some other guys that maybe aren't built for the long haul.
Completely sold on Cooper Kupp. I am going to regret drafting Robert Woods over him for the entire season. The dude has a 38% target share and is clearly Stafford's favorite target. He's been unreal. If you don't have him, there's no chance you get him, because there's no chance anybody in their right mind is trading Cooper Kupp. I feel like he's dropped 40 points per game. Some other guys I really like, Mike Williams right now. He's been awesome. I mean, that Chargers offense is fun to watch, and he has always been a really good receiver, just overlooked by Keenan Allen. He's also had an insane amount of targets, especially red zone targets, which as a fantasy owner, that's all you want to see. A riser that is actually a potential trade target, I feel like, is Kittle, just because he hasn't actually performed that well in week 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. But that's not a guy that I think that's going to be a sustained thing. The dude's going to break out eventually. If you can get a dumb owner that's willing to get rid of him because they don't think he's doing that well, then I would jump on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can go trade, I'm speaking strictly redraft here, a Gronk or, somebody else sort of, maybe that mid tier that's, maybe had a more consistent week, a Tunyon, somebody like that, go find the Kittle owner who's, not happy with taking him. And, that's sort of what you're hoping. And I'm with you 100%, just sort of hoping that he's going to blow up, because that's who he is. That's, he's George Kittle. He's a top 2, top 3 tight end in football. I guess in my risers, guys, I'm sold on. I got 2 wide receivers. First one, Deebo Samuel. The Ayuk, I don't know what the heck's happened with Ayuk. I've been trying to buy Ayuk in Dynasty all off season. Didn't work out, but Deebo is sold. I think he's Jimmy G's first read every single time. I can't, he's sort of why Kittle hasn't gotten a lot of touches, but I'm big in on Deebo Samuel. The other one, Connor and I, shout out Pac-12 Debbie team, Hollywood Brown. I like Hollywood. He is really showing, I think, sort of what he was drafted to do, really stretch the defense over the top, dynamic playmaker with the ball in his hands. And him and Lamar are a lot of fun to watch. And, I hope their connection continues to grow over the entire season.
Underrated thing with Hollywood is him and Lamar are like best friends and have been forever. They've lived in the same county together like their whole lives. So that the chemistry there is just awesome. And it's clearly his favorite target. I definitely think he's going to continue to evolve. He didn't have the best rookie year. Is this his 3rd year?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. But he's been awesome. And to go on Deebo Samuel, that he has the most target share in the entire league at 41%, which is just unbelievable. Like, that is crazy.
No, I Hollywood will be interesting. Very boom and bust. So I'm interested to see how that goes.
Connor's a Hollywood hater.
No. I'm just not a believer. Not a believer. My riser, even though Julian and I have known this man was the truth for years, special place in my heart, slightly homer pick, is Sterling Shepard. It is evident that he has kind of become Daniel Jones's go-to security blanket, And if you are in a PPR league and can snatch him up for something minimal, I would do it because he's just going to be a PPR machine moving forward. He's always open. I've watched several videos where they have set plays where he is basically the only read and everyone else is just a decoy. And I don't know. I just really want him to be good and go to a good team and be awesome. But
as long as he's healthy, I truly believe he'll be a top 25 wide receiver this year. I mean, he gets an unbelievable amount of targets every game, and he catches everything. And his yak ability is unbelievable. His route running is insane. If he wasn't on the Giants, he'd be a top receiver in this league. It would be awesome.
All right, you guys got any pretenders? Some guys you're not sold on?
Yeah,
some guys you're disappointed in.
I have completely given up hope on Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I think you and the rest of the fantasy community, my friend.
It's not even only because of the fumble, because that costed me money and it sucked. But I was such a believer in him when he got drafted to the Chiefs, just because I know how many points the Chiefs score every game. So some of those have to go to the running back. But he just doesn't get the opportunities. Clyde's attempts are 27th in the league. He gets no targets because Mahomes knows that he can just buy time and throw it to one of the unbelievable receivers down the field. So he gets no check down targets that I thought would be a thing. His red zone attempts he's RB 23 in red zone attempts. He's at 3. I mean, he just doesn't get any production. When he does, he's okay, but it's just nothing like what I hoped for in that Chiefs offense. Mahomes is going to throw it 9 times out of 10 when he has the opportunity to, and I've just completely given up hope on him.
I'm just to sort of add on. I know that's just unfair because I know coming out of college, Mahomes was pretty much like asking the Chiefs to draft him, and he shined a little bit last year. So that sucks. I mean, it makes me feel good because I was trying to overpay for him in Dynasty in the offseason and I didn't get him, which, makes me feel better. I guess my biggest loser right now, it's some guy I'm out on. It's Calvin Ridley. I don't know how much of it is him because he's Alabama receiver. He's obviously a very incredibly gifted athlete, but Matt Ryan is just washed. I don't know what the heck the Falcons are doing. Connor brought up a good point when we were eating dinner. Very reminiscent of the 2018 Giants, taking a luxury player at a premium pick position that they didn't need because they think they can compete. They really can't. And Calvin Ridley's, Matt Ryan's washed. It helps, I guess, maybe some garbage time, but he's just a wasted play. He's wasting all his prime years playing for an awful team at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It'll be interesting to see how the Falcons end up.
I still believe in Ridley. I just think his ceiling is significantly lower with Matt Ryan now.
No,
I saw a video of Matt Ryan, like completely empty pocket. He took 3 steps up, like complete full throwing motion, nobody in front of him, chucked it deep to Ridley. Ridley would have been wide open for like an 80-yard touchdown, underthrew him by 10 yards, didn't even get 45 yards down the field. I mean, his ceiling has dropped about
right. Yeah, I guess that's what my point is I believe in the talent, but the situation is less than ideal. Connor, you got anything, buddy?
Yeah. My pretender so far, and it's purely based off of just touchdown. I don't like using the word touchdown luck, but touchdown production was Zach Pascal. He has 3 touchdowns through 2 games. But if you look at it, he's gotten 5 and 6 targets and he's only had 43 and 38 yards. So,
fluky.
Yeah, the 2 and 1 touchdowns. If you take that away in PPR, that's 8 points. So it's not. You can't rely on that touchdown, and he's pretty high up if I remember correctly. He's a high-end wide receiver 2 right now and a wide receiver 17 in PPR. So I don't know. That's one. I don't know. I'm a little out on the Colts right now. I don't know, but moving on. Lock of the week, and then we're gonna have everyone's favorite segment: how much money will Chase lose in Biloxi?
Yeah, I'll go first, just because I wanted to maybe this is kind of going to counteract what my lock of the week is. I'm going to go Raiders -3.5 at home versus Miami Dolphins, obviously without Tua. Somehow the Raiders are 2-0. They went into Pittsburgh. They won last week. I know Big Ben was hurt a little bit, but the Raiders, I don't think they're going to win the division, but they're playing some all right ball right now. Derek Carr's number 10 quarterback in fantasy, and that's sort of another loser I was going to bring up, or potentially pretender. What do you guys think about the Raiders wide receiver core? Yeah, Brian Williams had a big week one. Henry Ruggs had over 100 yards in a TD last week. I know Waller's the number one read there, but you guys have any faith in you guys see any longevity in these Raiders wide receivers?
Yeah, I mean, Darren Waller is insane. I'm going to back off you. This was going to be my sneaky lock of the week, but since you said Raiders, I'm going to make it my lock of the week. I love the Dolphins here. I think the Raiders are so funny because it is like clockwork. They win the games that they're not supposed to win, and they lose catastrophically in the games that they're supposed to win. It is like clockwork every single season. I'd be lying if I told you I was confident that the Dolphins are going to win the game, especially with Tua out. But I think that line's going to move right now just based off the juice on it. At +4, it's -115, and -4 Raiders is -105. So it looks like it'll move maybe to +4.5. I would take the spread, maybe sprinkle a little bit on money line. Definitely feel like a big letdown game for the Raiders coming up. To go for a more serious lock of the week, though, like I said earlier, a lot of like big spread games this week, a lot of games that should probably be blowouts, which is why I love the teasers this week. So many tease opportunities, especially with the game tonight. Panthers are -8. Bring that down to -2. I'm going to run through a couple good teases. We got the Titans and a tease would be +1 against Carson Wentz, has 2 sprained ankles. Broncos, you could get them down to -4.5 against the Jets. Seahawks down to +5 against the Vikings. Cardinals to -1.5. Bills to -1.5. Those are against the football team and the Jaguars. Browns to -1 against the Bears. I wouldn't get too cute with it and add a bunch of teams to the teaser because you're guaranteed to get burnt by one of those by upset. But throw a couple 2-team teasers together on those big spreads and you're guaranteed to win some money. 9-0.
Heard it here first, folks.
Julian and the
teaser legend.
I also cheated, and I have one that I don't think I could live with myself and take, but I kind of like it, and then one that
+3.
Nope. I do like the Titans -5.5. I'm assuming that Carson Wentz is not going to play. And I don't know. It went from, the only thing I don't like is that it was, what did it start out as? I had it. I don't have it, but it's moved a lot. The other one that I don't think I would take, but it is interesting, would be Detroit +8 at home puppy. Baltimore coming off probably their biggest win in the last few years in prime time Sunday night.
Short week. I guess not necessarily. Well,
not a short week, but a little bit of a letdown spot. +8, kind of like it again with Julian teaser. Maybe get that up to 12 or something like that. Throw it in with a couple other teams. I don't know. It could be interesting. I would not be shocked if they lost by less than 8.
I don't hate it. The Ravens, like I would never bet the Lions just because I couldn't live with myself if the Ravens won by 20 because they probably should. But the Ravens are a team that I cannot throw in a teaser just because that just seems like it could be a letdown game. Like if the Lions won that game somehow, I don't know why, but I wouldn't be shocked. The Ravens came off the highest of wins possible. They got another big game next week against the Broncos. This just seems like a game that they could potentially be asleep at. That's a complete stay away game for me, though. Not even touching it.
It looks like that the Colts actually open up as 1-point favorites to begin.
Crazy.
And now they're 5.5-point dogs. So,
and apparently Wentz is trying to play with 2 sprained ankles.
Well, he's not even very good with 2 not sprained ankles.
Exactly.
I can't imagine how he's on 2 sprained ankles.
Feels like the Titans would run away with that one.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
Other ones that I thought were interesting. This is just an interesting game that we haven't talked about it at all. New Orleans at New England. I don't think I would touch this with a 30-foot pole, but I want to watch this game just because Belichick versus Jameis with Sean Payton in his corner will be fascinating. And then the Saints on the road, they're just a different team. I don't know what happens, but I mean, obviously they don't have the dome, but by the way, whatever the Saints come out at, like when they play the Giants, like if it's minus
Just
10,
take them.
just take them. I think first day back after the hurricane, just take them.
Belichick versus Sean Payton is going to be awesome. I could not touch either of those teams. I have no idea who's going to win. I know the over-under is super low, but I still don't even hate the under in that. There's two great coaches. It feels like that's just going to be a defensive battle. It's at under 42. I mean, what, a 21-17 like that seems realistic to me, especially with both of those coaches. That might be a game that I bet for sure.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I'm also excited for Green Bay, San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm not betting that at all. That is Sunday night, and I just can't wait to watch it.
Yeah,
no, there's a couple interesting ones in here. My first initial thought was I also kind of like watch the football team plus 8.5 at Buffalo, but then I kind of thought you got Heineke, you got to travel to Buffalo. They just blew out the Dolphins by 35, and then I was looking at Browns, Bears at Browns. You got Justin Fields starting his first start. Cleveland, struggled at times against the Texans last week. I not that I'm going to, but Cincinnati or Chicago plus 7.5. I could see them covering that. All right, I guess we're gonna go watch Thursday Night Football.
Under. We won't do actual dollar value. We won't do over under units. That Chase Michael will be down.
We'll be down. What happened to positive vibes only? PVO.
After that, his Raiders faith. I'm going over 20 units lost.
Just fade me.
I was gonna say over under 19.5 units is what I was gonna put it at.
I should calculate.
I gotta do some math real quick. Oh man, that would be close. I really hope it's not that. I hope it's like 4, maybe. And single digit unit loss is more than sufficient.
I think 19.5 is a good number.
Dude, I don't know if I can pay rent if I lose 19.5 units, so I better be careful.
Are you gonna be watching all the games like in a sports book?
100%.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I can do that.
Yeah, it's a fun time. I'm looking forward to it. All right, fellas, let's go watch some Thursday Night Football.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fumbled Out of Bounds podcast. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you want to talk about next time.